Well, part of it was going through what you had mentioned as far as the psychiatrist is concerned. We would go through that type of testing where we would have to work very fast with our hands in building something. And we didn't know, of course, that there was always one person out of three that were working together to build this in a race with somebody else. There was one who was really representing the training program. And just as you were ready and finished and thinking that you could win, he would accidentally knock the whole thing over. Now, if you reached back and punched him, you were out. But if you sat there and said, let's start all over again, then you were fine. And we had night exercises. We had special missions. We went on the bridges to blow things up, of course, using dummy dynamite and things like that. At that time, I didn't know anything about plastics. They were just beginning to be used. And we would actually also go into factories around the Washington area, and we would have false identification, and we would go in as if we worked there, and then we took photographs and did whatever we could, set out a plan about what we were going to blow up and which was the most important part of it and what they were doing. And most of the plants in those days, you know, we were not supposed to know what they were doing. And pretty successfully, I think only one or two of us were ever caught.
How did you feel about something that antisocial?
Actually, very good, because of what it meant. I mean, no, you don't enjoy doing something like that because these are your own people. But the fact that you were doing the training, you weren't hurting anybody, and you were going to use it for good purpose later on. You know, like blowing up trains and blowing up. And we were not quite as cruel as it sounds. We always were very, very careful. We always tried to let the French know when we were going to do something, if we were in France, about blowing something up so that the civilians would get out of the territory.
I see.
Those days are pretty much gone, but the old OSS was a pretty decent group, even though admittedly, there isn't anything that you're not willing to do. If you are, then you're not part of the OSS. You couldn't get in there and join them. But basically, and you were always a volunteer. I mean, you always had the chance to say no. And only once in my life did I say no to an OSS suggestion. And that was a weird one. They wanted to assassinate Hitler, and there wasn't any chance of success. We looked at the plans, and they admitted it was a suicide mission. And I said, well, the suicide mission is different from a mission where you know that there's probably no way that it can succeed, and at the same time you know that it's a suicide mission. I said, that doesn't make much sense.
Good. Right.
So
So you're
I'm still here.